up, y'all? It's Jay Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment, and we're about to get into this week's boxing talk. Over the past weekend, we had a very big weekend of boxing. First, we had Nonito Donaire reclaim the 122-pound WBO junior featherweight title, the same title that was just recently stripped from Guillermo Rigondeaux. And Donaire once held that title, and now he was in a very tough battle against Mexican Cesar Juarez. It was a fight that in the beginning it looked like Donaire was going to have an easy night when he was able to drop and hurt his opponent, but this kid had a lot of heart. He had a very tough chin, and he was able to battle back and wear down Donaire in the second half of the fight, where he landed a lot of good shots on Donaire, and Donaire basically finished the fight, but it showed me that he is not what he once was. Maybe it's age. Maybe he's been in too many wars. I mean, Donaire has definitely slipped in his career as one of the top fighters, pound for pound, in the world. But he is now also a world champion that won his 7th world title, and he is being said to be lined up against Vasily Lomachenko sometime in 2016. And that's a very interesting fight. But it's a fight that I believe that Lomachenko will definitely win, will definitely beat Donaire at this stage in his career. So we have to wait and see if that fight actually happens. Now, the main event in that fight was Puerto Rican sensation, undefeated lightweight Felix Verdejo, when he put on a spectacular second-round knockout against a Brazilian hairdresser. You heard me right. This guy was a Brazilian hairdresser, and it was an easy victory for Felix Verdejo. This kid right here is being put in the ring with these type of fighters. It's time for him to step up. He's already had 19 professional fights. They have groomed him. He's ready to take on better fighters. He's been fighting a lot of D-class fighters. It's time for him to at least step up to the B-level class and fight a very good named B-level fighter out there to get some more rounds in, because he's not getting the rounds that he needs. He's a sensational fighter with great hand speed. He also has very good punching power and has beautiful technique. He has the charisma. He's being hailed as the next Felix Trinidad, and he is the next Puerto Rican sensation to come out of the island of Puerto Rico. And I want to see this guy really step up and fight better fighters and get some work in. So we have to wait and see what's in store in 2016 for Felix Verdejo. Now we're going to head over to Russia, where the great Roy Jones, one of the greatest fighters of our time, was brutally knocked out by former cruiserweight champion Enzo McAnally. It was a very big, vicious knockout. Roy Jones, man, it was so sad to see a faded legend being knocked out and demolished in this fashion. I mean, this guy was laying face down on the floor. He was badly hurt. He was out for a couple of minutes, and it's very sad to see something like this. This man has been a great fighter throughout his career, a 4-division world champion, a 3-time light heavyweight champion, super middleweight champion, and middleweight champion, and also only the second man in 100 years of boxing history to win the middleweight and the heavyweight title. I mean, Roy Jones in his day and in his prime was one of the most special fighters you could see. He's probably the best fighter we've seen since Sugar Ray Robinson. But this fight right here definitely should end his career. He needs to retire before he becomes even more hurt. I mean, he has a future as a commentator. He's a pretty good commentator, or a trainer. He could be a trainer as well and stay in boxing. But this fight right here definitely put the nail in the coffin, because he's too much of a great fighter to go out like that, and it was very sad. You know, we've seen guys like Ali and Sugar Ray Leonard get badly beaten of an old age. He's 46 years old. It's time to hang up the gloves and move on. We're going to go over to the UK, where there was a lot of boxing that night. First, we had Paulie Malignaggi make his UK, debut out there when he won a dominant 12-round decision over his opponent to win a European title in the welterweight division. Paulie Malignaggi is continuing his career. He boxed beautifully, and he's been on a world tour. Last fight that he had was in Italy. Now he's fought in England, and his next fight, who knows where it'd be? Maybe Russia or someplace like that overseas. Because in the United States, when he faces top opposition over here, A-level fighters in the United States, he hasn't looked good. He's come up short. So, I congratulate Paulie Malignaggi. I wish the Brooklyn boy luck in his world tour. wherever he fights. He is a European world champion now. Now, also on that card, we had a very big upset of a young undefeated prospect. Luke Campbell suffered his first loss in that fight when he was beaten by Ivan Mendy. This kid got outboxed and dropped early in his fight, and he lost a very close decision, a split decision. And let's hope that he could come back and get back into that ring and make a comeback, because this kid is a very good fighter. And he's just like Amir Aman, another guy that was a high-level prospect out there that got defeated in 2015. So let's hope that Luke Campbell can make a return even stronger. Now, also on that card was Chris Eubanks Jr., who put on a very good performance. He got rocked early in the fight, but he was able to battle back and take control of that fight, and he beat his opponent, stopping his opponent in the 7th round. He is now a title challenger for the secondary title that Danny Jacobs holds for the WBA. Now, that's a fight in 2016 that they're looking to make, but it's a fight that I believe that Eubanks is not ready for. I think Danny Jacobs is just too good for Chris Eubanks at this time. He's a young fighter, he's a good fighter, and he brings some excitement with his quick hands, but I believe Danny Jacobs is a better puncher and a more seasoned fighter with much more experience. And I think that they should take more time with Chris Eubanks, because he could be the future of the division, but we have to wait and see if that fight gets made. Now, the main event of that evening was the heavyweight showdown between two amateur rivals in Anthony Joshua and Dillian Whyte. Now, this fight was a very good heavyweight fight where Joshua was definitely tested in this fight. He was hurt bad in the 2nd round. He weathered the storm. He was able to get back with his jab and put some beautiful punches together. And in the 7th round, he landed some good shots with the right hand and a beautiful uppercut that showed a highlight reel knockout when this guy White was on the bottom rope dangling, and it was a very good knockout, a very good finish for Anthony Joshua that passed the test. I mean, he remains undefeated, 15-0 with 15 straight knockouts, and this kid could be definitely the future of the heavyweight division. And I like what I saw, I like what I've been seeing, but I wish that he would come to the United States to get out of that comfort zone, because he is a big ticket seller in the UK, where there was over 20,000 fans cheering him on, and he needs to get out of that comfort zone and come fight some of these American fighters, which I think he'll do very well against these guys. A fight that I would like to see will be against Malik Scott. I think a fight between Malik Scott will be a very good fight. People are saying that Malik Scott took a dive against, Wilder. Now, yeah, I think he did take a dive in that fight, but I believe that a fight between these two will be a very good fight. Malik Scott said he's willing to go to the UK and even fight Anthony Joshua over there. I want to see Joshua in there with like Mike Perez, guys like Chris Arreola, better fighters. So I think that this kid really has something. He has the charisma, he has the smiles, he has the looks. He's a very athletic fighter with very good punching power, and he could definitely be the future of the division. They're talking about him fighting David Haye. His promoter, Eddie Hearns, has stated that he wants to put him on the undercard of a Brooks Khan fight at Wimbledon in London, England, and I don't think that's a fight that Joshua is ready for. I think David Haye, if he gets about 2 or 3 fights under his belt and he gets back on track, I think David Haye could bring a lot of problems with his speed and power to Anthony. I think Anthony still has somewhat of a suspect chin that hasn't been truly tested. I mean, he passed the test this time, but, against a bigger puncher than Haye, he might be in a lot more trouble. So let's wait for him to grow more and fight some of these other fighters before he steps in against the Tyson Furies, the Glitchkos, and the David Hayes. Now, also, let's go over back to the United States, where we had a fighter from Cuba, a light heavyweight undefeated fighter by the name of Sullivan Barrera. He made a step up in competition when he fought Murat. Murat was a good fighter that once fought Bernard Hopkins in a title challenge. And this fight right here, Sullivan Barrera is working now with Abel Sanchez, and he looked really good in this fight. He was able to land a very good uppercut that hurt Murat and put him down. And in the 5th round, he was able to get on his opponent and stop him with a barrage of punches. Now, a lot of people are saying that this fight was premature stop. And you could definitely argue that. You could say that this fight was definitely premature stop. It should have went longer. I wish it went longer. But this kid is now in line for a title shot against Sergey Kovalev. And that's a very good matchup to see because this kid is 17-0 with 12 knockouts. He has hand speed, he's very well conditioned, and he has very good boxing skills. But I would like to see a fight between Andre Ward and Sullivan Barrera. I think that's a very good introduction into the light heavyweight division for Andre Ward before he takes on Sergey Kovalev next year. So let's wait and see what happens if Sullivan gets one of those big fights. Now, also, PBC had a very big card on several different networks on NBC. First, we had the return of Victor Ortiz, who stepped back into the ring after a year layoff. Victor Ortiz is now working with Joel Diaz, and he looked pretty good. He got the ring rust off. He was able to get a lot of rounds in, and he stopped his opponent in the late rounds. And he looked sharp. He looked good. And he's already calling out guys like Sean Porter and Keith Thurman. I don't think he's ready for those guys yet. I think he needs about at least 3 more fights to settle in and get back into the groove. I think they're lining him up for Danny Garcia as a future opponent. You know, that's a pretty good matchup if it all depends on what type of Victor Ortiz comes into the ring against Danny Garcia. That will be a very good matchup to see in the future. You know, I would also like to see him against Amir Khan. That's a fight that I always wanted to see him. But I think a good matchup at this point in time will be against Devin Alexander and Victor Ortiz. I think that is a very good matchup for both of these guys to try to get back into the spotlight. Now, also on that card, it was a heavyweight fight between Chris Arreola and Travis Kaufman. This was an excellent fight. It was an action fight from beginning to end. Chris Arreola was dropped in the second round. He was badly hurt, and Kaufman looked like he was going to take care of business. But this kid, Arreola, is a tough guy. He was in the best shape that he's been in a very long time. He came in about 236 pounds. He looked good. He was battling back. These guys were hitting each other with some big shots throughout the night. It was a great night for TV when these guys were battling. It was a very close fight that could have went either way. It should have been a draw. I scored it a draw, but the decision was a very close decision victory, a split decision victory for Chris Arreola. And we all know that Al Heyman is lining up Chris Arreola to fight Deontay Wilder sometime in 2016. That's been in the works now for quite some time, and we're looking for Chris Arreola to look good in order to fight Wilder. So be on the lookout for that fight because that fight will definitely happen sometime in 2016. Now, the main event of the night was Omar Figueroa against Antonio DeMarco. Basically, Antonio DeMarco was brought out of retirement for a payday, but it lived up to a very good fight. It was one of the best fights of the night. It was an all-action fight from beginning to end. This kid, Omar Figueroa, is an offensive machine. He's nonstop with his punching. He threw over 1,000 punches in this fight. He was in the chest of DeMarco, landing some good shots on DeMarco, but DeMarco showed the heart of a champion. These guys are former lightweight champions. DeMarco came and landed some beautiful shots and had Omar in some trouble to the body and also to the head with the shots that he was landing. It was a very good performance by DeMarco. My hat's off to him. He definitely earned his money that night. And Omar Figueroa, you know, this guy, his best weight is at 135 pounds. He was a very good lightweight, and I don't think he belongs at the higher weight. He came in about 150 pounds. I mean, he came in pretty big, and I don't think he could deal with the guys at junior welterweight, at 147 welterweight division, or at 154 pounds, the junior middleweight division. I think that he should stay at lightweight because these guys, he doesn't have the punching power for these bigger men. And I think that he should definitely stay down in that division. But Omar Figueroa reminds me of another Texas fighter by the name of the Baby Bull, Juan Diaz. I think he's a very good fighter, just like Juan Diaz was. A pressure fighter that throws a whole lot of punches and has decent power, but is a guy that's not just special. I don't see Omar Figueroa as a special fighter. He's a good fighter, you know, but I think at this weight class, he's not going to do too well, especially against these bigger guys. But it was a great fight. He won a unanimous decision. It was a great night of boxing all the way around, across the board, overseas and here in the United States. A lot of networks were showing boxing, and it was a beautiful night of boxing. And I just love watching boxing. So I thank everybody for watching this video and subscribing to this YouTube channel. Please subscribe to J. Calderon Boxing Talk on YouTube. Also, follow me on Instagram and join that Facebook boxing group page, J. Calderon Boxing Talk. I'm J. Calderon, Stand Clear Entertainment. Thanks for your support.